the one that they'd like to. Okay. Okay, good morning everybody and welcome to the Shropshire Pension Board. The first item on the agenda is election of chairman. So we have our own little leadership challenge in Shropshire starting today. Can I have any nominations for chairman, please?
I'd like to nominate Dave Wright.
Nomination Dave Wright. Any other nominations, or is everybody second that nomination?
I'll second it.
Second it. Okay. In that case, there's no other nominations. I'm happy to hand over to the chair of this meeting, Dave Wright. Thank you.
Thank you, James. We should point out at this stage that the meeting currently, we've got one member online, we've got 3 members in the room, and to be quorate, we should be 2 member reps and 2 employer reps. Currently, we've only got 1 employer rep due to the last night, one of the employer reps called off for personal reasons. So, with the rest of the committee's permission, we'll carry on with the meeting, but we're not a decision-making board anyway. So, is that okay with the other 3 members, please?
Yeah.
Mike, thank you. Okay, we'll go to the agenda then. Item number 2 on the agenda is apologies. We've received 2 apologies from Liz and from Claire. Both got valid reasons. Can we accept those apologies, please?
Accepted.
Accepted. Thank you. Item 3 on the agenda, declarations of conflict of interest. Do any members, having seen the agenda, seen the papers, do they have any conflicts of interest, please? No conflicts. Thank
No.
you. Item 4 is the minutes of the previous meeting. Held on the 29th of April 22. Agenda item 4, you can just go through page by page. Page 1, well, hopefully you all received the minutes confirmed. Thank you.
Yeah.
Page 1, anything you want to discuss?
No.
Page 2. Page
No.
3.
No.
Page 4. So now are you happy that I sign these minutes off as a true record of that meeting?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just in public question time, there's no members of the public present. Do we have any public questions, please?
No, just any public question.
Thank you. No public questions. Moving on to item 6. The administration and regulatory updates. Debbie, can you update us, please?
Thank you, Chair. You'll see from the report, the administration, I haven't done a big update because a lot just went to committee, but there were some additional items that have come through since committee that I have included in this report. One around the Scheme Advisory Board's annual report that's recently been published. It's always almost 2 years out of date because of the information they collect. This one was from 2021. And it's just interesting to see some of the statistics with the fund membership growing, the size of the funds growing, how many employers are growing within the fund. So I think everything reflects what is happening in Shropshire. So at the moment, we seem to be running along lines of the national sort of LGPS. Also, the PLSA has just published a research project that doesn't come up with any answers, but has actually sort of pulled together all of the issues and the challenges that we've got across the LGPS. And there was nothing in that policy, in that research project that from I've read it through, but I haven't had time to actually completely do a report on it yet. But it's commenting on everything that we were aware of, especially around recruitment, retention, and sort of knowledge pool. And that sort of aspect. So I think the highlights in that are exactly as we've been reporting recently. Again, pros of employers. I'm happy to take questions on this or the report that went to committee chair.
Thank you, Debbie. Did the pensions committee bring up any big observations from the period reports?
No.
No. Okay. Are there any questions, Mike?
Yeah, can I go back to the or the June committee data on admin, section 7, if people have got that in front of them, that was the performance and the team update. And really, you could be on section 7.2 and 7.3, which is about section 7.2 is the year-end member data submitted to the fund, number of got, and the status of that. And section 7.3 was about data cleansing, and we were still, I think in June, 20 outstanding on that on the data cleansing reconciliation.
Yep, I can do. The member update, currently we've had all of the year-end, their month 12 submissions of the data from all of the employers. There's still a couple of employers that we haven't had their reconciliation reports from them.
Mm-hmm.
Under the legislation, the pension scheme rules say that they have to have everything to us by the end of June. So of course, we're now in a position that we can actually chase them. So anybody who's outstanding, sorry, that sounded wrong. We have been chasing them because we wanted the information by the sort of the end of April. But those outstanding now are in contravention of the rules. So there's only a couple. But what we're doing is we are still just cleansing the data for looking for missing leavers forms, documentation around that area. And currently, I haven't got the statistics, Mike, of how many are outstanding, but we have got cases going on with all of the employers around the area that we need, especially for the valuation. We do know that there are, I think, 700 at the moment unprocessed leavers that are at a status that are in a holding status. And of those, I think there was 70 that were actual ones that we needed to chase the leavers documentation from the employers because they needed to actually have a deferred benefit calculated. So we're on top of what we need from the employers. We have still a good working relationship with our employers in Shropshire. We have data of all of them. The data is usually robust. We do need to chase a few, and by monitoring their breaches, who's late, which late with their monthly returns, and also late with some of their leavers documentation, which is the documentation we need to calculate a benefit. So if somebody's left the fund, we need them to confirm pay, just date of leaving, that sort of aspect. So we are short of some, and we are monitoring those and chasing them.
Do you think this is resolvable before the end of the year, Debbie?
It won't be fully resolvable, but what we do is that we give the actuary an up-to-date for the valuation. It's resolvable as far as the benefits are concerned for the individuals, because we will make sure that we get that information from the employers. If it's not resolvable by next week, when we need to send the data off to the actuaries, the employers have all been clearly told that any information or data that they haven't sent us in time to ensure their records are correct for the valuation may impact on their employers' contribution rate. So we've done that communication to all of our employers to ensure that they were aware and that they needed to put resource into this area. And it's not in a drastically different situation to every other valuation that we come in. We're never able to, by the date we have to send the valuation data off, to have 100% calculated all of the levers up to the 31st of March just. So there's always a few unprocessed levers that go to the actuary, and that's taken into account. They have all of our data, and we have all of our statuses logged. Nowadays, we're even more accurate to know that something has happened to somebody may have left, because we're having a monthly data upload from the employers. If somebody has left that payroll by the end of, say, March, because we will have had that data at the end of April, so in the middle of May we would have been processing and knowing that we were short of something, so we can already get to chase it. So the actuary already knows, because we changed the status of that member, so as they know they're not an active member, they just haven't got the benefit calculated yet. So they have very good data from us to actually know what the status of the records are across the employees.
Could I just add one more? Thanks for that. On section 7.5, I was intrigued because you say the pension, it refers to pensions increase that went through this year, 3.1%. And then in that paragraph, you said some issues were appeared and lessons are being learned from the issues that appeared. But I found that a bit cryptic.
Sorry, Mike. Yeah. What we did is the lessons learned was more about the process. Is our process as slick as it should be? Are we ensuring that we're picking up any changes to the system that the system provider may have put in over the last year? The pensions increase this year was affected by the pensions reconciliation and rectification exercise that we done last year. And there is some changes in the software that have just sort of to work with that. And I think we weren't on the ball with ensuring that our processes on the system were calculated in the way they should be. This was picked up because we run the pensions increase through a test system first. So there were some items picked up in that we should have already known about. So that's where we learned a lesson, that we need to ensure that we're ticking off every single item that comes in the software update, that the team has fully understood what that meant to us. The team had seen that something had changed, but a decision had been made that didn't affect us because we had already done our pensions rectification at the back end of the previous year, but actually it did. So what we had to do was just understand that, rerun the processes, and we're getting close to the end of the time. We always have contingency built in, so we had time to do it. It's just that it puts the team under more pressure when they're running out of time and you've got to do something, undo it, redo it again. So the lessons learned were really just ensuring that the project is more closely monitored. And what I've also done over the last year is that we've appointed a project manager sort of in our team. That was one of the roles that I was given permission to actually recruit to, use the right word, recruit to. So we've got that person in place now. So what we've also done, that's why it was imperative that we did the lessons learned. So that person went through what we did, understood what the process needs to be, and now it will be managed primarily by one person engaging all of the three teams across the whole pensions administration team. So it's just making sure one person is actually owning that everybody is doing their correct role and nobody's missing something. So I'm hoping that proved that I needed a project manager basically with the pensions increase, because you've got teams do occasionally go into slight silo mode, and I think it's just ensuring that they're communicating wider and understanding how something, especially the systems team, how an improvement or a change in the system does affect the day-to-day running of the operations team. So
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. Do we have any other questions for Debbie, please? On item 6. Thank you, Debbie. That's very, very good answer. Thank you very much. Item 7, the Pensions Committee reports and feedback. Do we have any board members to raise any questions following the recent Pensions Committee meeting? You've all had access to both the live stream and the paperwork if you wanted it.
I did raise, Chairman, I did raise a point with Rebecca, and I think she passed this on to James or Justin. There was a very, very good report of that meeting in the public part of the meeting from Mercer's on valuations and actuarial valuations of the scheme. I gather this has been recorded and is available somewhere in the ether. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, that's
correct.
Yeah.
I don't think we can afford to get Mercer's back into the pension board to go through it, but it'd be useful when we are completely quorate, when all 6 members are sitting around the table, if that report could be at least presented again, whether from Justin or James or just through the recording, because I found it most illuminating. I think, unless other members of the committee have seen that, they're missing something.
I attended the committee virtually, and it was a very, very good hour and a quarter presentation.
Yeah.
Well worth watching online. Thanks, Mike. Any other questions from there?
No.
I was just going to add, the presentation will be available because it was recorded. I don't think it is actually uploaded online yet. I think that is still with the committee services to upload. So when it's there, we can certainly share that around. But I'm not aware that it's physically on the Pensions Committee website yet.
Okay, thank you for that.
I have raised a question with Sarah Townsend, who's the Pensions Committee officer, and haven't yet received a response. So when it's there, we can share.
And maybe we can have an item agenda next time that we actually discussed that before, because I also watched the Pensions Committee and it was very, very good. It was very well presented.
Yeah.
Very factual from our point of view.
Thank you.
And I think given the fact that we'll see a inflation on pensions, both existing and future ones, it really sort of begs the question: how does the fund cope in these extreme conditions, extreme inflation, extreme increases to pensioners, and markets which are, to say the least, problematic at the moment?
Yeah, fully agree. Justin, have you got anything to say?
Yeah, so we had the update on the valuation probably 6-7 months ago for some of the pension committee members. So we thought it was a good idea to have a refresher session for the new members of the committee, so they can go through, because every 3 years we go through this process. But that's one of the things that has fundamentally changed since we went through it last time, because of the war in Ukraine and Russia. So inflation, as everybody knows, is latest figures around about 9%. But obviously with the valuation, we're looking over the long term, so over the next 20-25 years. So there is going to be a short-term impact, and there's going to be increases to interest rates. We've all seen that as well. So that will all be factored in, but we are looking over the longer term here, and there will be these short-term blips. The hope is that it could go, inflation could be higher for longer than we originally thought, but obviously the Bank of England is raising rates to try and control the levels of inflation and trying to get it back down to the 2% levels, which is their mandate. So yeah.
Thank you for that, Justin. I've got an observation on the Pensions Committee. The members attending, we was told during the meeting that Shropshire Council is 40% of members. Telford and Wrekin are 25 to 30% of members. That equals 65-70%. However, there was no Telford reps on the meeting. Are we pushing these people? I appreciate Ray Evans has given her apologies, but we've got substitutes for the Pensions Committee, should they substitute be brought forward? Could you, is any comment on that, please, Justin?
Yeah, I think we did contact all substitute members as well, but they were unavailable, so they sent their apologies. I think they're waiting for the cabinet meeting in July, because that's when we nominate who sits on the various committees. So until we know the detail, but we did have apologies from Councillor Carolyn Healy 3 or 4 weeks before the meeting, and then unfortunately Ray Evans, Councillor Ray Evans, another meeting came up a couple of days before the meeting, so she couldn't attend. So the substitutes were invited but unable to make this last meeting.
Thank you for that, Justin. You know, it keeps on happening, and we should really get onto the leader of Telford and Wrekin Council and say to them, your members are not attending. It's vital, you know, with 25 to 30% of the members actually in the pension fund. Quite vital that we're there.
Yeah.
I fully agree with Mike. The evaluation presentation by Mercer was really, really good. Really good to watch us online for us all to view. Thank you for that. Any other points from the Pensions Committee reports or feedback? No ones, thank you very much for that. Move on to item 8, the date of the next meeting. The meeting of the Pension Board will be held at 10 AM on the 14th of October 2022. Item 9, exclusion of the press and public.
Check the live stream to finish, but if you can read out just read out.
Okay. Item 9, to resolve that in accordance with the provision of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972, Section 5 of the Local Authorities Executive Arrangements, Meetings and Access to Information, England, regulations and paragraph 3 of the Council's Access to Information rules, the public and press to be excluded during consideration of the following items. Thank you. Now going to turn off the line, please.
Yeah, just waiting.